jump right in. Is that okay?
Good.
All right. So I'm David Morrow. Derek, I appreciate you letting me run this and us getting together today. I've been involved in IT cybersecurity for over 30 years. Began as a prosecutor, then worked in Lloyd's of London, and then since 9/11 have been part of the FBI's InfraGard, and which is helps protect and share information and education and helps protect the critical infrastructure in the United States. We've run over 1,000 sessions of these, over 50 times with FBI agents. And I will tell you, when we run these with FBI agents, it scares the bejesus out of everybody, and then they leave. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it's not really that helpful for all of us. Like, we need to understand what we're supposed to do in English. Like, don't talk gigabit to us. Don't talk about Chinese espionage. Like, just tell us what we have to face and what we can do. Because I don't want to lose my savings. I don't want to get my company in trouble. I don't want to, I want to be able to protect my kids when they're doing things in gaming that I don't know about, and then protect my elderly relatives who freaking click on everything, right? And so we've designed this for regular users, for all of us. One more person in. Hang on. Did you guys let them in? Great. Excellent. So part of the advice that we've given and part of the work that we've done with the FBI is we have a podcast. We've got a couple different podcasts, but we have one. It's one is Breaching the Boardroom. It's about leadership. Derek was kind enough to be on that, which was great. It was one of our best discussions. The other is about cybersecurity and best practices and helping small and mid-sized businesses. It's called Cybercrime Junkies. In that, we have interviewed over 275 criminal hackers, actual FBI agents, national security people, global CISOs, global chief information security officers from companies and organizations around the globe, as well as victims and family victims. And I'll tell you that some of the stories, it's very personal. And so one thing I want you to realize is when you hear about a data breach in the news, what we don't hear about is the emotional impact it has on the people that were involved. The leaders, part of my company, I'm vice president with NetGain Technologies. We do a couple things. We've been in business since 1984. So we have seen a lot. We've been in cybersecurity for 25 years. We've developed a very long-standing cybersecurity team. So we get called in when there's breaches. We're part of that first responder group, as well as just doing regular IT support, helping people do stuff, and then regularly protecting and providing the services. But we get called in when it happens. And I'll tell you, it's not what people think, right? Like, years ago, I spoke with somebody and it really made it personal for me. So I just want to leave you with this, and then I'm going to get into a bunch of slides I'm going to show you. But leader of an SMB business, in business since the mid 80s. And he said to me, he's like, look, man, I am in my late 50s. I've nearly lost everything, not because of the industry or tariffs or the market, but because we ignored that risk. Because we ignored cyber risk. He said all it took was one friggin' email to one of my best employees who is very trusted, and it got her identity stolen and gave them access to our systems. We now faced years of debt, litigation, and cost, and she went through hell. She lost the $60,000 of her life savings and months of chaos. And he's like, and I'm left with my customers doubting me. That moment really changed everything for us, because we're like, we have to get information out to organizations so that they understand what's really happening. But we don't want to just spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Let the FBI do that. That's out there. We all know it. We all see it, right? But it's not about fear, right? This is about control. 100% of the data breaches you see in the news are completely preventable. 100%. No doubt in my mind they can be prevented. And it doesn't have to cost $1 billion. A lot of it are the fundamentals. And we just have to do them for ourselves, for our families. And by doing that, we bring those habits and those better habits to work with us. Today, I'm going to literally give you a guide that will have step-by-step things that won't cost you a dime. All you have to do is follow them. In 14 years, people that follow these have never had their identity stolen. And I've trained thousands of people. Not one of them has had this done. So if you actually just take a look at the resources, I'm going to go over this stuff. It'll help you. It'll help your family. You won't have to worry about this stuff. And that's really what I want to do for each of you. I want you guys each to just not be another stat. So I want to make this interactive. I know I'm not there in person, but I will be soon. So Derek and I will talk about this after. Okay, guys, let Bobby in. Okay. And so let's get started. Why are data breaches in the news? And why the hell should anybody care? Well, we should care because of the same reason why they're in the news. They're in the news because 20 years ago, they weren't in the news. We've looked at the media, and right around 2015, 16, the news reports really started to occur. And something was happening in the cybercrime industry. They were productizing their bad code and their actions, and they were getting organized, and they started to have some big wins. And so they got very well funded. Right now, cybercrime is the third largest economy on the planet. Number 3, US, China, and cybercrime. Cybercrime generates more income than all of the UK, EU, right? All of the European Union, Canada, and Australia combined. Cybercrimes generates more income than like that. But why is it doing it? And part of the reason it's doing it is because 15, 20 years ago, we had computers in the office, and if they broke or they didn't work well or they got encrypted with some virus or whatever, guess what? Like, we were fine. I owned a business then. We had computers. Stuff would go down and stuff. We'd be fine. We still had physical ways of doing things outside of our computers. And that does not exist for the most part in the United States today. We have gone through what vendors have brought us to, and that is digital transformation. And with that digital transformation, we're able to scale faster. We're able to make more profit. We're able to leverage advances in technology. Those are all the positives. Those are all true. The downside is that we are more dependent on our technology than we want to be. And we don't have a choice. When was the last time when you went to a doctor that your nurse walked in with a big stack of paper with all your medical records so that they know what to ask you and what to prescribe you? They don't. It's all in a system. That's why they created HIPAA for electronic records, right? This has been going on since HIPAA was initiated in 1996, right? So we are now, so when these things happen, right? When things like ransomware or locks down a rural hospital or a rural organization, it affects our physical lives. It stops production. It stops people from being able to pay bills, engage with customers, and it stops healthcare. And people need to be rerouted. Ambulance need to get rerouted. They can't render medical care. It affects everything. That's what makes it newsworthy. Part of the reason why we don't hear about SMBs is mostly because there's a lot of myths out there. So most organizations think, I'm too small. It's not going to happen to us, right? They're not going to hit us. Or everybody has a perception of a hacker that that's just wrong. Like, I love it because I've got mass and I can identify with like the hacker image, right? Like, we know, like, when I say the word hacker, what do you guys think? Don't be shy. I haven't heard one person interrupt me. That's not polite to me. Like, interrupt me. I'm from the city with a bunch of loud Italians. Like, always feel to interrupt me. Ask me questions out of the blue, please. But when I say the word hacker, what do we think? We think, I bet, in your mind's eye, you're thinking kid in a hoodie, drinking Red Bull, maybe eating a hot pocket, living in his mom's basement, right? Like, probably part-time gamer, part-time like criminal mastermind. Very, very technical, very bright. Is that fair? I mean, that's kind of what we think of when we think of a hacker, right? And
Yep.
yeah, and the truth is it's not a total myth. I mean, those kids exist. Um, those skills are still used in cybercrime and in cybersecurity to defend against cybercrime, but it's not why it's in the news and it's not why it's grown. Those kids have productized everything. They have built platforms that work like Salesforce. They work like your inventory management systems. They work like your billing systems. It works like QuickBooks. Like, it is like a SaaS program that is intuitive with fantastic customer service. And they can track extortion campaigns, launch campaigns, all with a push of a mouse. And they don't have to be technical anymore. They just buy access and decide to be criminal. And last time I checked, there is a lot more criminals than there are people with technical skills. So what's happening is more and more organizations are, and more criminals are getting into that business. There's a whole bunch of other reasons too. There's a lot of um, those that are a bit older always remember stories of the Crips and the Bloods and the gangs. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but they have cybercrime divisions within those gangs. And there've been interviews of those guys. And when asked, they're like, well, let me tell you why. Because if I get busted dealing meth or dealing heroin, I go away to a state pen for 20, 30 years. I get busted for a cybercrime for ripping off an old lady or a family or bankrupting some company. I might get busted and I might do 5 years at most in a federal penitentiary. And to them, in their world, that's a lot better, right? A lot more money, a lot less chance of getting shot, and a lot less consequence. Um, the other thing is one of the other myths is cybersecurity sounds complicated, sounds geeky, sounds technical, not my job, not my problem, right? And the other one is, well, if there's a breach that we hear about in the news, we're going to know about it. Like, we'll triage, we'll contact everybody we know that has any certification or knows anything about technology or an iPad or anything, and we will get them involved should that ever happen, right? These are the common myths, and these are all wrong, right? Every single one of them, the data supports the exact opposite overwhelmingly. Okay. Um, you won't know when you're breached. You won't know until they launch. Of the breaches that you see in the news, when you look into them, right? How did they find out they were breached? Over 80% of them found out about it from social media or from law enforcement or the actual media, not from their IT provider, not from their IT people. They learned about the breach when the attackers started selling the data on the dark web, or they learned from the breach only after they were inside the network undetected for more than 6 months and then launched, right? That's the reality of it. Cybersecurity is all of our jobs because when you go home, you don't have a separate physical world from the digital world anymore. Your banking is done online, whether you use it or not on a regular basis, and whether you use it safely or not is up to you. But even ignoring it still puts you at risk because you still have an online account, and that online account still has credentials. So even if you don't use online banking, you are still at risk for online banking. The other is you feel too small that it won't happen to you. I'll explain why that's not true when I kind of share some of the stats. 57% of all data breaches in the United States are in the SMB space, fewer than 200 employees. 36% of the ads you see on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Google, 36% of every single one of those ads has malware or info stealers on the back of them. When you click on an ad, you run the risk of them getting all of the passwords. If you keep them in Chrome, like in the Chrome browser, you run the risk of that. You run the risk of them being able to access all of your contacts on your phone, in your devices, etc. Over 36% have those. 67% of all small to mid-sized businesses and organizations in the United States have at least one account takeover by a cyber criminal every single year. Over 67%. When an SMB gets attacked, on average, they are down and out without production, without being able to function to even a regular steady state for 23 days. And that stat gets worse when you think about individuals. When individuals get their identity stolen, it takes way more than 23 days to get things back. So think of how much time and what it costs you. Forget the amount of the ransom. Forget the amount of the insurance claim, right? Think of what this is actually costing us. The number one tactic is social engineering. Social engineering, cybersecurity has a lot of acronyms. They just love them. And they love little buzzwords and phrases. So you'll hear them in the videos I'm going to show you. Social engineering is the psychological manipulation of getting you as a human to do something against your interests or the interests of your employer. It's the number one tactic. It's used in almost everything. Almost every type of attack. If there's ransomware that's launched, it's not different from phishing. Phishing might have been done to download the ransomware in the first place. And then once in, the ransomware gang does their tactics and their modus operandi. In the meantime, how are the SMBs faring up? Well, this is why we're getting crushed. Because 68% of us humans reuse our passwords. So if we were doing this live, I would have people like stand up and be like, hey, who uses a password that they've used before? Who uses a password of a favorite team or sport, or who uses a password that has certain things? And most people are getting better at them, right? But then I'll always ask, how many people use a different password for every single thing they log into? Because that's what you're supposed to do. That's why you're supposed to use a password manager, right? It's hard to have a really good password and to use a different one on every single login unless you use a password manager, because we simply can't remember that many. And they have to be good. I've done these sessions so long that I've had people come back for a second or third session, and they'll come back and say, I took your advice. I am really excited. I've got a really good password. I use it on everything. And I'm like, no. We don't want you to don't reuse passwords on anything, right? So the goal is to use a really good password and to use a different one on everything. And I'll get to why and how that's important. Meanwhile, small and mid-sized organizations, of the breaches that happened, 76% of them went undetected. They went undetected, meaning attackers got inside the network. They either logged in as us or through social engineering, we let them in. Very few of them actually will hack some exploit of some vulnerability in some software. Some will. But 76% of them that wind up launching go undetected. They're inside for a long time and we don't know it because they don't break anything. They don't set off alarms. They don't get detected. The SMBs don't respond as well as the enterprise organizations because they don't do things like have an incident response plan and a tabletop exercise. Those are things that the industry says every SMB is supposed to do. That is a fire drill. We all did fire drills in school, yet we built these really good brands and we need to prepare for them. Because if we don't do anything else, right, the best thing to do is to start there. The best thing to do is to practice the day of. If I get a call and I'm a leader and everything's down, we can't access anything, what do? Who does what in hour one? Who does what in hour two? Who does what in day one, day two? Like, how are we going to get back up and going? How are we going to deal with customers? How are we going to, do we contact insurance? Do we not contact insurance? If we do, what's our role? What's their role? Going through that, just like a fire drill, changes the data is so overwhelmingly significant that it shows that it costs less and that they bounce back so much faster because they just have gone through it. They've simulated what's actually could happen, and then they're ready, and they know, where's the printed out book for us to go through, because we can't keep it on a technology device because those won't be working. And the other thing that is the most shocking, like, truth that dispels a lot of myths is, how long do you think attackers are inside a person's identity, their email, inside an organization before an attack happens? Like, how long are they in there undetected? And the truth is, on average, 197 days. That is more than 6 months. So on average, attackers are inside our stuff for more than 6 months. That's like somebody having stolen our wallet and using our credit cards for more than 6 months, racking up liability that we will be liable for that we don't even know has happened yet, so that we can contact the banks and tell them. We all know the longer it goes on, the more damage there is. You don't have to believe me. You can literally Google this. How long are hackers inside my network undetected? The answer will surprise you. So there's been talk, and people always hear about the dark web. So let me explain the dark web. The dark web is the internet. It is the internet that we use on a regular basis is about 4 to 6% of the actual internet. Most of the internet sits in what's called the deep web, and that's behind paywalls. It's in research documents, medical journals, legal journals, stuff like that, right? That's where vast amounts of the data sits, corporate networks, stuff like that. It's all in restricted systems. That's called the deep net. And then beyond that is the dark web. So think of if we were all at a restaurant or a library, and there is a small room over in the corner with some shady people coming in and out, right? And there's a lock to it, and you just need a special key to get in. That would be the dark web. It is larger than the actual internet that we use on a regular basis. When you think about YouTube and Google and the news and getting online and all that, all the searches that we do, that's the surface web. That's like 4 to 5% of the actual internet. The dark web is larger than that. And when you go there, you just use special software. You can access it on any device. But it's pretty shocking. So let me take you there. They have marketplaces just like Amazon. And I kid you not, it looks and operates just like Amazon. I think this customer service is better. It's supposed to, like, people tell me it's phenomenal, right? they sell anything, right? And everything you do there is anonymous, but you can buy identifications, birth certificates, death certificates. You can buy ransomware toolkits. It's where ransomware gangs have websites and they recruit and they will chat with people and engage them, and it's where they sell session cookies, which are, if you've ever used a software and the convenience part of it, there's cybersecurity is on one side, convenience is on the other. The convenience part says, hey, click here, remember me, or click here and we'll save your login. You won't have to put your credentials in, right? The FBI has said, please stop doing that. Okay. So my recommendation to you is please stop doing that. The reason for that is that creates what's called a live session token. It's a code. It's a series of letters and numbers, and right, and it sits in between your browser and the site that you were just in. Problem is if you click on that ad or you click on that phishing email, or if you get socially engineered, one of the first things they're grabbing is your session cookies, because they sell them like on a store that looks just like Amazon for various organizations. You can buy 1,000 session cookies for like $100. What does that mean? That means if I paste that code into a browser, I log in as you. That's what it means. For 90 days, that session cookie is good and they log in as you. So part of the issue is criminals aren't hacking. It's not the kid in the hoodie. This is just crime. They're literally just buying access and they're coming in. Whether they come into your organization specifically or not is just a matter of whether those session cookies are in the package that they bought or not. It's literally that random. They're not necessarily targeting you directly, but they are targeting the unlocked car door. Imagine a criminal walking through a parking lot and just going by and hitting car doors, popping them open. Whoever's got a car door open, they're going in and they're taking everything. That's exactly how it works. All we have to do, and I got a million analogies for this. One is like a shark, right? We're all out on the beach. We're having a good time. We're swimming, right? Somebody sees a shark. We don't know if it's a shark or a dolphin, but I'm not going to stick around and find out, right? I got to swim to shore. Well, we will never be able to outswim that shark. And the same goes to you individually and to your organization. You will not be able to beat cyber criminals 99% of the time. This is what they do. They're very well funded. They're very, very good at their job. They can get in if they want to, and they can do a lot of harm. There are things we can do, though, because the truth is we never have to outswim that shark, ever, right? We just have to outswim the other swimmers. We just have to outswim the out of shape person who's right by the shark, right? We just have to outswim the organizations that don't do anything. And there's a lot of them, right? So by doing just a little bit, it makes that car door locked. Could they, if they really wanted, smash the windows and jump in, right? Or sear off the door? Yeah, they could, but that's not what they're about. The MO and the modus operandi of attackers is they're going through because they know 20, 30% of all those car doors are freaking unlocked, right? So all we have to do is do things like lock our car doors. And in the digital sense, that's what we're talking about. Does that make sense? So throughout this, you're going to see a little QR code. And while QR codes can be dangerous, I guarantee you they are not dangerous here. Please feel free to scan that and download the take-home resources, and you can have them immediately. If not, we're just going to get everybody's names, and we will be sending over the take-home resources to everybody. So either way, you're going to get them. So let me talk real quick about the modus operandi, and then I'm going to show a video. So I talked about the shark in the water, talked about unlocked doors, talked about the fact that oftentimes they're not even hacking. They either log in as us, right? Because we click on info stealers or adware, we click on a link in a phishing email, and then they steal our credentials and then they log in, or we get fooled, social engineered, and we wind up letting them in. But when you think about their modus operandi and who these people are, let me explain something. They run their businesses like very, very profitable businesses. They offer health insurance, they have benefits, they have meetings, they follow methodologies, they have dashboards. It's not a crime to them. When I say that, I mean it. Like where they grew up, and a lot of these are in Eastern countries outside of Moscow, parts of Russia, or parts of the former Soviet Union. They're called the CIS countries, or Iran, Pakistan, Middle Eastern countries. I will tell you that where they grew up and the way they grew up, you have to understand, we grew up believing we are the good guys, right? America, right? We are the good guys. They are the bad guys. They grew up the exact same way. So where they live, they will not be prosecuted. It is not considered a crime to bankrupt you personally or to bankrupt your company. It is not. Nothing will happen to them. Now, they probably can't come to Disney World in the United States if they've been caught and the feds indict them, right? That's fine. They just won't go to Disney World. But other than that, nothing's going to happen to these people. Like that is the way it is. They don't have empathy for us. There is no accountability. They have things right on their dark web websites like we have no country or border. When you get online, you enter our world and we are in control now. That's the shadow brokers. There's groups like Drunk Panda, Ransom Hub, Akira, the shadow brokers, Lockbit, Black Hat. I mean, Black Suit. These gangs are organized. Some of them have the same, figures that rebrand, but they have brands. I mean, some of them are on Twitter. You can literally see them. The head of Lockbit, the number one ransomware gang in 23 and 24, he's on Twitter. You can see his state of mind. Like you can see all the things that he says. Talks about certain things, talks about certain breaches. Like there's a blend there between the two worlds of what's legal and what's not legal. But they run it and operate it just like a legitimate business. So let's talk about everybody always asks about AI. AI is a huge thing. Everybody's got products that have AI in it. So what are the risks? AI has done some phenomenal things. It is transforming the speed at which we operate. Incredible. But if you're an organization that hires humans, engages with payments, currency, and has leaders, right? There are a lot of new AI risks, and they're not necessarily what you think of. The number one risks in AI are impersonations, misinformation, right? Leadership impersonation. AI is being used to bolster social engineering, which is already really effective. Phishing emails have gotten much better. Phishing emails are now accompanied by Teams calls where people get on and look and sound just like other people, even though it's not them. And the technology to detect that is nowhere near ready for prime time. It fails over 85% of the time. So deep fake detection, deep fake is the manipulation of text, image, audio, video, or combination of all of them to make the appearance that somebody said something that they didn't. It's very easy to do. It does not cost money. And it's very, very harming. It's not just used in political elections. It's used in cybercrime all the time. There's risks of using external AI. When we're at work and we're using OpenAI, we open a browser, we open it, right? If we put in confidential information and have it fix it, like Samsung did, right? When Gen AI came out, Samsung went and put in, they need their new phone hadn't come out yet and it was bugging. And so they put the code to the new phone out in AI, in OpenAI, and they said, can you fix this code? And good news, they did. Bad news is all the source code for the phone is now out there for the public. Literally, people were printing it out and going, here's the new phone. And they haven't even released it yet. Because when you put something in, you feed it, it's public domain now. Everybody has it. Internal AI, the stuff that's behind our firewalls that doesn't go out into the sea of the public, are things like Copilot and other ones that are built inside our firewalls. Those also have risks because once they're able to come in, they don't have to look for where you keep your jewels. They don't have to look for where everybody keeps their social security numbers or how do I get into that system because that's got the gold. Or there was just a case last week where an organization found, they got in, they found a password file that was encrypted and it had everybody in the organization said all the administrative passwords. Well, the hackers tried to get in, tried to get it, and they couldn't get it. Like they couldn't get it. So they went to the company's Copilot and they said, get us that document, open it up and tell us everything in plain text. And it did it. So once they're inside, they're able to move faster than they've ever been able to either. So when we talk about synthetic media and deepfakes, I want to show you a video and then ask if anybody has any questions.
Criminals are taking advantage. Here's how AI is transforming online crimes.
I was shocked.
It's a disturbing new trend, another layer of artificial intelligence.
You know, as an entity, what could possibly happen if this gets into the wrong hands?
It's getting to the point where deepfakes are nearly impossible to decipher as computer generated, which is super exciting, but also kind of scary. Now my face is slowly morphing into something else, and it's basically pixel perfect. Look, it's like amazing. I'm not me. I mean, I am me, but I'm not me to you. And that's kind of nuts.
We're about to enter it scares me. It really does. It scares me.
The FBI tells NBC News they're following the rapidly developing technology closely.
It's a real concern. It's a real concern.
Lawmakers and law enforcement are getting worried about this technology. Here's a letter from Congress to the Director of National Intelligence, a 43-page report from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And look at this title page. I mean, look at that graphic design. DHS says that deepfakes and the misuse of synthetic content pose a clear, present, and evolving threat to the public across national security, law enforcement, financial, and societal domains. The Pentagon is using its big research wing, the one that helped invent, I don't know, the GPS and the literal internet, that one, to look into deepfakes and how to combat them. Like, they're taking this very seriously. And then, of course, deepfakes are being used for good old-fashioned cybercrime. Like this group of fraudsters who were able to clone the voice of a major bank director and then use it to steal $35 million in cold hard cash. $35 million.
That's a lot of money.
Just by deepfaking this guy's voice and like using it to make a phone call to transfer a bunch of money. And it worked.
We've got you involved in a few different breaches that unfortunately almost every American's going to show up in.
Look, I obviously like to think we do a lot of smart things. I'm obviously not immune to being human.
Let's get into the pretext. It's about to get creepy. Rob, we're going to do a voice clone demo. So I took a clip of you speaking from a video on social media. I put it into my voice cloning tool that requires no consent. I spoof your phone number. So I make it look like it's calling from you on caller ID. Your team member picks up the phone call, they answer it, they hear your voice.
Hey, sorry, can you remind me of my password manager's master password?
But I mean, it's very accurate. It's definitely my voice.
So this is me wearing your face like a digital mask.
That's terrible.
I took about 2 minutes of that video and I put it into this tool with no consent and I spit out your voice asking about the master password again. Imagine this is in a Zoom or a Teams call, okay?
Hey, sorry, can you remind me of my password manager, master password? Appreciate it.
The thing that's going through my mind is, Rachel, imagine what an attacker with unlimited time and resources could accomplish.
So we're in the kind of Wild West phase where the lawmakers are kind of just trying to get their head around this stuff.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was within a few minutes.
Deepfake technology is getting faster, cheaper, and more realistic, making it easier than ever to create scams or spread misinformation. AI companies have created deepfake detectors, but this cybersecurity expert says they have serious limitations.
Anyone that promises that one-click type of answer is wrong. I can upload things that I know are deepfakes because I made them, and they'll say that they're likely authentic. It has the very real potential of creating a false sense of security. Probability 5.3.
Same audio clip that was 100% AI generated, and it thinks it's real.
I think somebody that's not thinking about this with nuance would go, oh, it's probably real.
Yeah, and that took no effort. Deepfakes are getting better and better, more believable, and the tools that maybe I thought would help me figure it out may not be so helpful.
If we have set up some kind of code word, I can ask you that. It's simple human things like that that we're going to be able to use until the technology catches up.
Any questions? Has anybody seen or had any experience with deepfakes or deepfake audio or anything like that, at least that you know of?
I won't know for 197 days.
What's that?
I won't know for 197 days.
Don't string together the stats, because then it gets really depressing. We don't want to do that. We just want to look at each stat individually and attack it.
David, we might have had some experience with that when one of the times we did get hacked, when our email had been hacked and some wire information had been changed, that customer or victim, if you will, claimed that they had called a phone number in the email and that it did sound like Dawn.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, this guy was very unbelievable to begin with. So we don't know if he actually ever called, whatnot. But anyway, he had claimed that he had called someone and it did sound like Dawn. So we
don't know whether they're full. Yeah, we don't know whether they're telling the truth. But assuming that they are, it's not that hard once they identify who is at our organization, that would be the one that they would be calling, right? Or who's in touch with the account. Because if they're inside, a lot of what they're doing is what's called, just research. It's just, they just want to see and spy and know if we place a call, who from the organization would we have to act like or sound like? And then they'll gather up all the information about that person so that they'll set up a fake number, they'll call, and then they will have the voice or have something, and then they'll sound like them. Yeah, it's very, very common. Let me show you some examples of how fast it can happen too.
DEF CON is the biggest hacker convention of the year. It's a place where thousands of hackers come to hear talks, to demonstrate their newest hacks. It's actually a place that's so dangerous to be on the internet that they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on your phone. I think this is Car Hacking Village. This car is locked. Can you get me in?
I'll unlock it for you. Should be good.
Hacking is no longer like this fringe activity, and if you are at DEF CON, there's a good chance that you're here because you want to learn what could happen to you or your company.
We help people with human security issues by testing vulnerabilities for like a network test, but it's for the people network. We test those vulnerabilities, see where the holes are, and then help people learn so they can patch them.
Can we try some of this?
Could have our star visher here make some phone calls as
Let's do it.
Sure. Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice elicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider
Okay.
and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for usage information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
gmail.com?
Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay,
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry. So there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yes.
I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff, and they're not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know all these other businesses aren't doing it either. But I was curious, what can a hacker with serious coding skills do?
I did get into quite a number of things that I found.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a fish asking you to go to this website, run the certificate installer. So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials. So I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively by...
And your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In coffee shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. Here's you editing stuff. There's you like.
Oh my God! So this is literally
every 2 minutes
through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How? How would you make me homeless?
Like I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. Like, the only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
He got everything. I mean, frankly, I want to take my computer and throw it into the deepest part of the ocean, and I want to never touch a piece of technology again because, holy shit, that was everything. That was the keys to my entire life, and he just pulled them out of his pocket.
Well, that's disturbing.
DEF CON.
Any questions after that? You can kind of see how fast it's done. And you can see it all depends on the code that the attacker uses in the link in the email when you click on it, or in the phone when you click on it, right? I've seen some demos, like most of us have received texts from toll authorities. I imagine you guys have, right? Like, hey, you have an unpaid toll. You need to pay this, right? Click here. I've seen demos where within 30 minutes of clicking that, the stuff that goes on in the background, they are printing actual cards, credit cards in your name. Like there's demos on Telegram and on the dark web that show by clicking that, this is in the background what it gives them access to and what they're able to do. They're literally creating credit cards in your name, in your social, everything that's tied to you. And then they put them on digital cards so that they could use Apple Pay and other payment and just tap to pay at various places, all within like 30 minutes of somebody clicking on that. It's really quite shocking. So if you're curious what they can do to you individually. And then I want to get into, well, here, let's do this because I want to make sure that everybody gets some of the best practices and we talk about it. But here's one of the things in the take-home resources are examples like this. There's a scan that I give everybody. There's ways to test your passwords, the strength of your password. There's websites that I give you to see if you've been part of another breach. There's a website that I give you to see if your work email is part of another breach, or even whether your work email and the credentials tied to your work email are being sold right now on the dark web. All of it's free, and you don't have to go to the dark web. You just use these legitimate tools to find out. And all of that's in the take-home resources. But an example is here. Like, this is an actual person who attended this session. I wouldn't use somebody from your organization. But like that work email, this is the CEO of a company. That work email is in 20 public data breaches, and 9 different passwords to that work email are for sale right now on the dark web. Right? Pretty scary. And the domain, the actual website, the URL for that website, for that company, there's over 100 credentials stolen. They only need one, right? So the only benefit we have in running a smaller business is they're not looking for us. Like, they are not purposely out there targeting Wolf Industrial, right? Like they're not. Like, so that's the good news, right? And they're not targeting you, each one of you individually. They're not looking for Carl in accounting at Wolf Industrial. The guys over in Russia are not talking about us. So that's good, right? The bad thing is when they do their campaigns, do we get sucked up into it, right? Because if we have stuff that's exposed and we haven't changed our passwords, right? This one is last exposed on February 26th of this year. So if we haven't changed our password since February 26th, we need to know that, because I got to go change the passwords on it and make it look nothing like the other one, right? So, but just by doing that, then they might purchase access and those credentials, but they won't be able to get in. And that's good, right? Using things like multi-factor authentication, a lot of that, most of the time, still stops a vast majority of it. Again, we won't be able to outswim the shark. We don't have to, but we just have to do some steps and do it for yourselves, do it for your family. Just do a little bit, and then we will be able to make it to shore. I won't show this video because it's just, it's very similar, but I want to get to some best practices so I can just at least leave you guys with, and I hope it's okay if we go a little bit past, unless everybody's got a hard stop in 6 minutes. It's up to you guys. I want to respect your time. But the number one thing that our take-home resources show you to do, and we advise to do, because this is based on interviews from criminals, and they say unanimously, if American middle-class people and working-class people would just freeze their credit, we couldn't do 90% of what we do. They have said that to me hundreds of times. So I'm saying it to you. Please freeze your credit. I freeze my credit. Everybody that works with me has their credit frozen. All of us freeze our credit. It's free. I literally show you how to do it. There's 3 different credit bureaus. We all have a FICO score. We all have credit. Your FICO score, by the way, will still go up. You can still take out a loan for the boat or the car or the credit card anyway. You literally press a button, unfreeze your credit. They run the credit check. You get the card, the boat, the car, whatever. Then you press the button back, and now your credit is back to being frozen. Use a password manager, because nobody can remember 50 different passwords, each one a long phrase, right? Or a complex set. So use a password manager. You just have to remember one simple password, and that one will unlock all of the others. Have a code word for your family. Okay. There are a lot of deep fake scams that are being promoted through gaming consoles and through things where they're swatting or they're SIM swapping or they are making calls to grandparents or people in authority, and it sounds exactly like their grandchildren. And it says, I was in a car accident. They don't want to deal with insurance. I just need $2,000 wired to me. And the response there is, absolutely, I'll do that. What's our code word? They're like, no, you don't understand. I don't have time for this. Give me that. I'm like, I will wire you the money. What's our code word? Because if you're actually my daughter, you'll know what our family code word is. My family has one. Every team member that I work with, their families have one. You need one. It's a different age today. You need one. Also, adjust the privacy settings on these bad boys. By the way, these are computers that can run an airport in the 1980s, all from the palm of our hands. Okay, there's enough compute in here compared to the computers in the late 80s and mid 80s, early 90s that ran airports, and we walk around with it in our pockets. Okay, they track everything. Okay, you want to download certain apps, right? When an app is free, by the way, we are the product. So they want to track us so that they know what to try and sell us, and they sell that data because that data is worth more than selling us an actual product. And then they also want everything else. They want all of your contacts. They want other things. Be very, very careful on the apps, and we give you some guidance on things and how to evaluate them. And here's the thing: there's only 20 seconds or so between the time when you're going to see an email and you're going to click a link or download a document. 20 seconds on average, and that's millions and millions of phishing compromises have been evaluated. From the moment that email is open till the moment it's clicked, it's 20 seconds. And so here's the problem. When we read the contents of the email, they are designed to trigger amygdala hijack. Amygdala hijack is cortisol rushing through. It targets your limbic brain. It targets the part of your brain that still says, holy crap, there is a woolly mammoth in our village, right? Fight or flight. We've got to get out of here, right? It triggers that emotion. What that does is it blocks your neocortex from working. It blocks it. Like, it's scientifically impossible to use your neocortex when you're in amygdala hijack. Problem with that is the neocortex is the modern part of our brain. It's the part that will remember what I told you, right? A part that will remember what you read in the take-home resources, right? You won't be able to remember it during the 20 seconds. So what neuroscientists say to do in these scenarios is pause. Before you click or send info or forward an email that's got confidential info or change wiring instructions, before you do that, pause. Because just by pausing more than 30 seconds, the cortisol levels go down, your neocortex kicks in, and you can have common sense. And you can literally be able to go, I need to verify this. Not through the email, the phone number that they give us in the email, because that's theirs. These guys have ungodly amounts of money. They buy call centers. They have the ability to have somebody very legitimate sound on the other end that will tell us that this is legitimate. So if something comes from Microsoft that says something, don't believe it. Like, go to the Microsoft site and look it up. If you see an ad and it looks unbelievable, oh my God, I've wanted that lawnmower for so long. It's like 80% off. This is fantastic. Before you click, go, okay, that looks great. I'm going to go to the website and see if it's freaking real. Because the odds are it's not real. Anybody can go to Canva or go to Photoshop, like create an image and take an ad out on social media. They don't check. They just want the money. Like, it's filled with crap. social media feeds are filled with ads that are not true. Like, it's not true. Donald Trump really didn't say that, nor did Biden. Like, none of it's true. Like, if you go and you look at it, you'll see it's not accurate. It's not real. Just like the ads are, just like all of that. What they're doing is they're saying something shocking, right? To get you to click on the ad. Once you click on that ad, if you do it by your phone, they have everything. They will have everything. You have a lot on your phone. You have a lot of secrets on your phone. They have everything. They will be able to, they're called info stealers. They will be able to capture every single thing you type on this. Period. So every password you type, everything, they will be able to capture, all from clicking that ad, or all from clicking that text, or all from clicking that phishing email, right? And this is where our personal lives affect our work, because we could do that on the weekend when we're at a bar, right? And not think about it. But meanwhile, we also have our work email on here. And guess who else does now, right? This is how the data breaches are actually happening. And so this is why I want you to pay attention to it and to look at it. All of this is in the take-home resources, and I just want to leave you with this. If we do this in person, one of the first things I do is I say, everybody take out your phones, turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth to your phone, because you don't need it. And only bad things will happen. So turn that stuff off. Keep Wi-Fi and Bluetooth off unless you are using like AirPods or you're using it for a certain reason. Don't use public Wi-Fi, right? Use a VPN on your phone. Okay? Do not use public Wi-Fi, because a lot of them, a vast majority of them, look legitimate because the legitimate one is hidden and someone else in the mall or in the airport has put up a fake one. And meanwhile, every single person that walks by them, right, has everything taken from their phones without them even knowing it, because they have auto connect to Wi-Fi on their phone, right? Don't do that. Beware of quizzes. Don't reshare posts until you verify it. When you're traveling, we give you a whole host of tips on what to do when you're traveling, because there are a lot of risks there. But one of the best things, too, that the NSA has recommended is to turn off your phone and turn on your phone every single week, once a week, because it clears out a lot. It clears out a lot of malware that's running in the background, spyware, junk, all that stuff. Turn your thing off and on once a week. For an organization, look, there's a million different regulations that apply. And then there's common law. There's lawsuits that always happen from data breaches. And what they do is they pick apart all these different regulations and they'll say, well, you didn't comply with that one. You didn't comply with that one. You might be like, well, I'm not required to. They're like, well, no, but that's why you're here in court, right? Like, you're not required to, but people that do that aren't here, right? So these are the rules. These are the best practices. This is what the government and regulatory agencies are saying you should be doing, right? Well, I was recently on a panel and we analyzed every single one of them, along with a ton of case law for data breaches. I don't know if you guys have traveled lately, but if you do on the road, you always see the, hey, been in a car wreck, call me, I'm the hammer, whatever, right? Like all the lawyers. Well, you start to see them now that says been involved in a data breach, right? Because there's a lot of money in suing organizations for it. So when you look at all of these, at the end of the day, and this is in the take-home resources too, there's only 5 things that you have to worry about. Just have to, because all those regulations and all the common law says you're supposed to do 5 things. Now, how much or how often you're supposed to do each one depends on the regulation, but they all say the same freaking thing. It's 5 things. Know what your risks are, be able to see them, not in 6 months, but to be able to find groups that otherwise would be undetected, plan for the bad day, right? Prioritize your technology weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, and then educate and protect your users. Like, that's it. So at the end of the day, a lot of these are about figuring out how to tackle all 5 and just doing it, doing some yourself, doing some with a partner, just figuring out what to do, because you do this and not only does risk go down for you personally, but also the organization, but it also costs less when it does, and you bounce back faster. That's really it. Any other questions? Comments?
I have a question about the phone. I mean, I was always under the impression that the phone was safer from pushing links and stuff than your desktop, especially in Apple.
It is. Yeah, it is. Your phone, there is a setting on Apple to make sure your messages are encrypted. We show you how to turn that on. The phones and iPads and tablets and stuff have caused some issues, like people, and it happens in their personal lives sometimes, but people may hand over their phone to somebody because they want to see something, or they're using an app, and then they mistakenly click on something else, right, while they have your phone. Well, there's a thing that we show you where then you just press a button, you hand them that. They can't get off any app other than the one you opened for them. And then they have to give it back. It's really handy if somebody has kids or if somebody has elderly relatives. It's very, very handy. But in general, your phones are more safe than actual PCs, just because most malware is designed for PCs because they're going after the knowledge worker, if that makes sense. But there's vishing and smishing. Smishing is the texting, right? We all get that. And most of those are easier to spot, in my opinion, at least for me, than phishing emails, because phishing emails have gotten very good. Like they're using AI to say, craft a phishing email that looks like I work for this organization. I want to appear like this person, do the full research of this person, and sound like I am from this area, this region, in this state, right? And use words that make it sound like it's from them. And so they will analyze that person and every single thing that's online, even on the deep web, right? Even behind paywalls that we might be able not to be able to see by Googling it, but it's still there. They'll be able to analyze that and then craft that email that will sound just like that person. Make sense? So the point is this. Most of this stuff is solved by some basic things, right? Better password management, using multi-factor authentication, knowing whether you've been breached and then changing those, right? Like I guarantee you, when you go in and you put your work email, there might be a breach. I guarantee 100% you put your personal email in, you're going to be part of several breaches. Most Americans are. And so you need to go into those accounts and change those passwords, or make sure that the password you were using in 2019 is not the same password you're using today. You'd be surprised how many have just like changed one letter or one word. The software does about 14 billion combinations in a matter of seconds. So anything like if you're using, Tennessee #100, and then the next year you're like, well, that one got breached. That was part of a breach. So now I'm going to use Tennessee #200. You're not changing your password. Like it's the same freaking password. Their combinations are going to go through every possible combination of Tennessee #100 there is in a matter of seconds. It'll go through billions of combinations until it guesses yours and gets in. And that software that you can buy like on Amazon on the dark web costs about $150. And they can run it against an organization, and it's called Password Spring. They're basically taking all these old passwords, and then they're taking the other parts of the credentials, the usernames, the emails, and they're just changing all of the passwords before or until they actually find the one that lets them in the door. So that's why the password has to be somewhere completely different, and it needs to be long. In the take-home resources I give you, it shows you the amount of time it'll take that software to work. And just by going up to another letter or two, or another symbol or two, or number or two, it makes that software go from milliseconds of cracking your password to hundreds of thousands of years. What does that do? That is the shark in the water and the locked door, because it's going to take them too long to get in. Again, remember, they're not after you individually in your organization. They're looking for opportunity. And if it's going to take too much and be too obnoxious to get in, they're going to move on. And that's where I want you guys to get to individually, right? Individually, and then as an organization, just get to the point where you put up enough resistance where you don't have to worry about it, right? You'll never get your risk down to zero individually or as an organization, but you will be able to defend enough to where they will move on, because they're not, yes, if they get in, they will have no mercy and they will do a lot of harm, and they won't care. They will laugh about it, honestly. I've talked to them like they don't care. Like, they grew up with the American middle class as the enemy. Like, they do not believe what we believe. So so if they get in, they're going to do a lot of harm. But the point is they're not after you. They're after opportunity. And so let's not give them the opportunity. The struggle we have is because it's not like seat belts or car insurance, it's not required. So a lot of organizations, and you guys are doing quite a bit actually, but a lot of people, like, unless somebody makes us do something, we're not going to do something, because what we want is convenience and we don't want inconvenience. And sometimes cybersecurity can be a little inconvenient. But what I'm asking everybody to do is take a look at the take-home resources. All this stuff does not take a lot of time to do, and it does not cost money. So there are ways you can do it. And I'm telling you, it'll change the trajectory of your risk, and you'll never have to be going through that. Because I want everybody focused on their lives and using technology for positive things and not having to deal with all this. Cool? Were the videos okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Just one question.
I got like 20 more, but I didn't want to.
I have one question. As far as you talking about changing your password, more often than never, is it of real benefit? Like, is the phone recommend you change it to a super encoded password that it suggests for you? Like how your phone will just make up a 25 character password and save it in your phone?
No, you know what? There's a lot of yeah, that's a good point. There's a lot of, the rules for passwords come from a group called NIST, N-I-S-T. And they recently came out with the most updated rule. And all they said was this: length matters. So what they recommended is, think of phrases. Think of a phrase from a movie or a book or something that you like, that you don't post about on social media. Like, right? You don't go, God, I love the movie Jaws. Jaws is my favorite movie. Saw Jaws 500 times. And then your password is need a bigger boat or something like that. Like, we could guess that. Like, you can't go like, I love the Green Bay Packers. I'm a huge Packers fan. My password is Packers rule or something like that. You can't do that, right? But other than doing that, you want it to be a phrase, right? And generally 12 characters or so is fine. They said the complexity doesn't matter as much. So it could be a phrase, like, or string a couple phrases together. The challenge doesn't come from creating a good password. The challenge comes from remembering all the different passwords, because we all have about 40 to 50 different apps and things. If you think about it, how much stuff we have to log into, we need different passwords on all of it. That's where a password manager helps, because a password manager will operate right in your browser and it'll operate right in your phone, and it'll automatically populate. It'll create good passwords for you, or automatically remember your old password. But it's not built into the browser. Like the Google browser and saving the password in that is not good. It's not safe. The industry always advises against it. Why? Because most of the info stealers are designed to capture everything in your browser. But password managers, while they have convenient things in the browser so it works the same way, it doesn't work the same way. They're actually encrypted and separate. They're just giving you access to it from your browser. The stuff isn't kept in your browser. That's the difference. Make sense? Cool. Well, what I'll do is I'm going to send the take-home resources. If somebody could send me the first and last name of everybody, then I will get our team to create the certifications and send those out. And then one of the things we always follow up with on this is Derek, and you and I will talk. It's just to walk through what stuff like this looks for your organization, right? Like what are those 5 things? What are we doing today? What can we plan to do? What can we do on our own? Where can we find this stuff? What do we need help with, etc. But it's a really good roadmap. It's really practical. So that's our Tech Forward workshop, and you and I have been talking about that, and I hope to come down there next month, and we'll do that in person. We'll go for it. Cool. I'm not going to be this tall in person, though, unfortunately. I feel I'm looking down on everybody. Like, you should see it from my end. Yeah, you should see it from my end. It's pretty cool. It must be what like great basketball players feel like. So, all right, everybody. Well, look, no such thing as a dumb question. You guys were quiet. So this question, and I know I'm not there and you don't know me yet, but any questions at all, please either filter them through Derek and send them to me, or just send them to me. You've got my email. I'll get you, if I don't know the answers, I will get it for you and send it over. But you'll find the take-home resources really useful. And Derek, I'll send those over right away, and then we'll exchange the names, and we'll get the this video will be available to you guys too. We'll host it, and then you guys can have other people watch it later. Okay? Excellent. All right, well, have a great day, everybody, and we will all talk soon.
Awesome. You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks. See ya.